So, welcome to another episode of the Decogged podcast. Today, we are going to go carry on with something we talked about last week, which is about commissions, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about, I guess, the other
bad
side.
side.
Yeah, the bad side of commissions and how to protect yourself as a freelance artist. And this applies not only to the NFT space. I think it applies to
across the board.
Yeah, across the board. Yeah.
I think if you freelance in general.
Yeah.
And you guys might actually have some tips. So if you guys have any tips,
Yeah.
just drop it in the
Yeah,
comments. Because since we're freelancing a lot more now, we're kind of trying to protect ourselves. You know, and by protect I mean you kind of don't want to do all the work and then end up not getting paid, because
Yeah.
I think that story happens a lot.
Yeah,
So-
a tale that's been told millions of times.
yeah. So there's ways you can protect yourself so you never get to that stage.
Yeah. So, I guess like last time we talked about Billy's good commissions, so we didn't really mention, I guess, my story.
Yeah.
But how it happened was actually Billy referred me to someone, and they came to me for a commission.
Yeah. So they came to me originally,
Yeah.
and then I already had too much on my
Yeah.
plate. So then I was like, oh, maybe like Jamie would be free enough to want
Yeah.
to take this on, because we're still trying to make a living on the side, right?
Yeah.
So it was a good opportunity to
Yeah.
make some extra bucks.
And get some exposure.
Yeah.
So I took it, and then in the beginning seemed pretty like you kind of there's the intangibles that you look at. So like Twitter follow. Well, I guess that's tangible. Like
Yeah.
Twitter followers and all that stuff. You just know whether someone's going to be like you have a general sense of whether someone's going to be someone you can work with, but that doesn't mean it's like foolproof, right?
Yeah.
So originally he seemed like he's got enough followers. He seems like I think he was in Basie. I think that was Basie.
Yeah. Or Macy or
Macy,
one of those.
yeah.
Those projects.
So so I was like, okay, there's something here. I think I can give it a try. And I started chatting with him, and everything was going well. And I guess I'm pretty like when a project's gonna happen, I just immediately I just go straight into it. Sometimes it's like you don't want to waste time, because I also had to the week after I had to fly to Sydney. So I was like, okay, let's try to get this flight done.
Yeah.
Right. And it seems like when I was chatting with him briefly, it seemed all good. And then at one moment, like, I did the model, I was starting the model, and, as an artist, of course you want to get paid up front, right? But that's sort of unsafe for the client as well.
Exactly.
Like, what if you do a bad job, then he just like gave you all his money to do this project, right? So usually we split it up into stages, right? So maybe I do a rough pass and blocking, and then he pays me for that, and then I do a rough pass in the next stage, maybe texturing or lighting, depending on the nature of the project, and so on and so forth. And then finally, when you give the final product, they pay you the last payment, right? So it depends on the nature of the project. You can split it in threes and like maybe 50-50. I think that's what you did for yours.
So I split it so that after the initial model was done, so this is like a fully rendered, lit, textured model. So I split it so that once the model was done, that's when the first payment comes in. So that's 50%, and then at the very end, when the final thing is delivered, that's when the other 50% gets paid out. So that way you at least know you're going to get paid some amount, right? For the work. And the model is usually like, I feel like it's probably like 50% of the work anyway. So to me, it seemed like a good place to make the cut.
Yeah. So that's like the insurance, like the checkpoint, right?
Yeah.
So that works for everybody, to be honest. Like, it's a safety check for everybody.
Yeah.
And so when I was talking to the guy, I was like, yeah, I can go thirds, because he didn't mind, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, maybe we'll do like the biggest part of the model that I was working on. Was the head and the look of it, the look of the face, because there's fur on it. And I was like, okay, let's do a model of the head first, and then as a proof of concept, and then that's when you pay your your first 30%, because at that point you kind of at least know my general skills, and then I have something to show you. I think it's a good point. Yeah. And he was like, cool, let's do it. Then I did the model, and I was then I was messaging him throughout the whole process, and was like, hey, by the way, this is like one or 2 days work so far. So I messaged him and I'm like, hey, take a look. And he was like, oh, it looks great. My business partner will pay you the first stage, first payment.
Yeah.
And what happened was, like, after when he said that, I kept on looking at my wallet throughout the day. Yeah. And I was like, I sort of thought, oh, he's going to pay me, right, in my mind. But it never came that day, right? And then it started to, the first thought that I had was, this is starting to creep up onto my schedule.
Yeah.
Because, I told, like I said,
we've got a lot of stuff going on on the side.
Yeah, it's like pushing my schedule, and I don't like that at all. But yet I had to still finish it because the deadline's still going to be the same, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm already like at this point calculating what, how I can make up those hours, whether that's like me staying up, me having to push another project to the side. So that's like going through my head. So it's starting to, bother me a bit. And then, I asked him the next day as well. And he was like, yeah, we're going to send it right now. Or like, we're going to have, like, because I also wanted to Zoom with him. Oh, let's have a chat once I get home.
Yeah.
But then it never happened.
Yeah.
And that's the first that's a big
yeah.
I was like, this is going to be, I think this might be a problem.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't even want to Zoom, if he can't even make it to a Zoom, I'm like, let alone payment. Like, it's like, okay, you know what? Pens down. Like, at that moment, I made the decision. I was like, you know what? I can't, to protect myself, this is on hold. I already gave them like 2-3 chances already, right? And, they just messaged me saying, I think the normal excuses saying, I was stuck in traffic, or like, I'm a bit too busy, I'm a bit occupied. I'm not saying that's not true.
But I mean, it literally takes like 10 seconds to pay someone.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not that, that crazy, I think, to and we're not, we're not wire transferring over Western Union. I think it was like, we're making the transactions via crypto.
Yeah.
Like essentially the payment is crypto. Because, we are in the NFT space, and that's how everybody does business in the NFT space. So, I mean, literally the payment was in crypto. So you just like punch in the wallet, punch in the number, and you just go send, and then it's done, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of
crypto.
Crypto.
Minus the fees.
Minus the fees. The fees, that's a whole nother topic. But, so technically speaking, it only takes like 10-15 seconds to pay somebody. So that seemed like an invalid excuse to me.
Exactly. Right. And literally how when you pay someone in the traditional sense, you still have to enter their bank account number and all that stuff in different fields.
Yeah.
In crypto, you literally just I literally put my wallet, so my account number, onto the Twitter, onto the messages, onto the DMs.
Yeah.
And he took it. Like, all he needed to do was take that address and literally put it in one field.
Yeah, you just
and then
copy
send.
and paste, and then just punch in the number to send.
Yeah.
And then you just send, right?
Yeah,
and
so it's like in some ways it's even easier, right? It's faster and easier. So that was a big red flag, especially after I gave them I'm actually skipping a lot. I kept on saying hey, there were messages in between where I'm like, hey, he would be responsive until when I asked about the payment.
Yeah.
And then it would slow down and he would not reply. And then I'm like, hey, I need to, if you want me to keep going, you need to send me, we need to fulfill our agreement. You need to send me the payment. And, it would just always be an excuse, or there would be no answer. And I told them, I gave them an sort of an ultimatum. I was like, look, if this is not, it got to the point where I was like, if this is not paid at 11 a.m. PST, I'm going to assume that you guys no longer need my services. Yeah. And I'm going to put this project to the side and work on my other stuff. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. And yeah, thanks for your time, that kind of thing. Yeah. And after that message, they didn't reply me, and I flew to Sydney, which is great because I didn't know. I took a break, and then didn't have to worry about it. Then literally yesterday, they replied me, and this is when I think that even though it started out as a bad project, or like it gave red flags, doesn't mean it can't turn around. And I guess we can talk about that a little bit later. I kind of want to focus on the protection of yourself and why. Like, I mean, like, have you had these kind of problems in the NFT space and the traditional space before, or like,
for
do you
me?
have?
No,
do you have any
I think
experience
I've
with
been
that?
lucky. Like, I've never been stiffed any payments, but I have heard of like these stories. So I'm always I'm always like thinking ahead, like how do you protect yourself? But yeah, I mean, this is the first I've heard like from someone personally that I know. But in the end, I mean, we could talk about like what happened afterwards. But it seems like it's okay now. But so I mean, there's like a few things that you could do to protect yourself in the beginning and throughout the process, so that at any given point of the process, you're not essentially losing too much. Like the maximum amount that you'll lose is just like a day or two or something like that.
Because that like times your money as an artist, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then like the client's never willing to pay up front, and nor should they have to, because that's putting a lot of trust in someone that, especially if you just meet them online, you don't know them. I wouldn't pay somebody up front anything. So I think it's a good balance, that like splitting the payments up as the process goes, because like you can see the artist working if you're the client, and it's like there's no reason for them to stiff you any money if they're already working on the project and they can show you like the work in progress. It doesn't make any sense to like at that point like be like, oh, I'm not going to finish it, but I'm just going to take your first payment. I think there's ways to definitely kind of protect yourself as you work, and there's like ways to help the client feel like safe about the process.
The process, right? Because not all of them know the stages of the 3D pipeline. It's like they don't know what they're looking at, really. So like I approach it like as if that person doesn't know anything about 3D, and I approach it at the same time like as if I was presenting something to my supervisor, and I explain through the process and like all the things that I am going to improve, or the things that I'm going to fix, and how it's going to develop. So the caveats, I guess. The caveats, and then also like give my own suggestions for like improvements, because it's a work in progress. So like you're probably not happy with the work at every single stage. So when I present my work, I'm like, okay, well, first of all, I give daily updates, so that way the client feels like, oh, okay, this like it's always happening. He's always working on this, even if I'm not working on that the entire day. I make an effort to like do something part of the day, just to show an update, just to be like, hey, look, like I'm working on this still. It's not like I forgot. But it'd be like just sending an update, a screenshot, and then like a few little caveats, a few little improvements that I'm gonna make. And if they're really not like new to 3D, I would explain the process, like, oh, this is just the model, so it's going to be gray for now, it's going to be very basic lighting, it's not going to look very pretty, but it'll give you a general sense of like the 3D structure of the character. And then the texturing, where like the colors, etc., will come after that, and then the lighting. And I think usually that's when people get excited.
When they see the lighting and the texturing, they're like, oh wow, that's so cool. But
for me, actually, it's the Lambert phase, when people sculpt. I'm like, oh really? Like when you see the ambient occlusions, it's like a sketch. There's something about like with Lambert and someone just sculpted it. It's like sort of like a rough sketch. And something about that looks really nice. But of course, so like it's always important to protect yourself as an artist, because it's so easy for people to take advantage of us, right? Even in traditional freelancing, I've heard stories where even like studios, so proper companies, where they don't,
they don't pay.
they don't pay the payment like months later.
Yeah,
right.
I have heard stories where like an artist would have to consistently chase up the studio to get the payment, or an agency, or and that, to me, that's crazy. That's so unprofessional. I mean, if somebody ever did that to me, I'd be like, I'm never working with that person ever again. I
would actually like, maybe because after now I'm more exposed to Twitter, I think I would actually like straight up like,
you just call them out.
I'll call them out on it. I mean, of course, like, I mean, you also don't like want to burn bridges necessarily, but it's like, if it gets to a certain point where they haven't paid for like a year or two, and if it's like a big lump sum, because I'm not sure whether they pay in stages, and
maybe not in
with a big studio.
It depends on, I guess, the arrangement, and that's why I think no matter what arrangement you have, I think getting paid in installments makes sense, because that's the only way you can protect yourself. I think if you don't get paid in installments, you know, you could walk away with nothing, and that's like always the worst feeling, and I think nobody should have to do that, and there's no reason why that should be the case. I mean, unless it's like you're working for Nike or something, and it's like some crazy like multi-million-dollar deal. It's like, maybe, well, they need to like get the ad out or something first, and like there's like a reason why they can't pay that lump sum for whatever like legality reasons or something.
But even then, I would feel nervous.
I would feel so nervous.
But I think it's all about leverage, right? So let's say if you haven't had a big client like that, right? And it's your first, like, if this is like a make or break deal for you, like, if they don't pay you, at least you still have, like, you can say, oh, I worked on this, and you have the working files, and you'd be like, put it on your portfolio. It sucks that you didn't get paid, but at least like, you're still getting something away from it, which is the
I think at that
name,
point,
right?
like, if it was such a big deal, like, I would go get like some legal document to say like, hey, like, this is the agreement. Once the job's done, like, I get paid. So that way you're legally protected. I think if it's such a big deal, it's probably worth like going that extra that extra step just to get like that legal protection. But I think like over the internet, if you're doing commissions like we are, where it's just like we don't know who these people are. It's the Wild West. But there's definitely people with money like throwing it out there, trying to get stuff happening. It's too much to go that extra step. I think it'll probably scare off a few people as well. So I think maybe just some in between where it's like, you do these little micro payments.
I mean, they had, like, you know, there's like those fees, the gas fees involved, which makes it hard for maybe certain startups, like in the NFT project. But at least the one that I was dealing with, he was like, that totally makes sense. But to, I guess, go back to the story, the second half, right, where it's like, it did turn around. Turned out really nicely, actually. He came back, apologized, and I told him that, I'm in this space, and right now it is the Wild West, but I do like to associate myself with people that are more like, that want to be professional and more communicative, because or else how are we going to do business, right? You suddenly, like, one day you just like
you
up
can't
and
just
run.
disappear, especially
you can't
when
do that. When
you had an agreement, I think that's when you gotta word is bond, right? So.
Exactly. And but he was very apologetic, and I told him, I was like, we renegotiated. We're like, okay, look, like, I'm happy to keep going on with the project, but you do understand that you sort of put me in a hard position where I'm not, like, there's a trust that sort of needs to be built. So I was like, we have to do a Zoom chat. Just so I know, like, just to have some connection, and to make me like really, like, I do the Zoom chats to really like, for me to tell whether you're what kind of person you are, right? Like, little
you
things.
Like, you want to know the character of the person you're dealing with. And I think that helps. Like, that's essentially what. That's another way, I think, to protect yourself is. That's what I did on the commission with the derpy egg that we showed last week. Like, I wanted that Zoom chat. Like, I pushed for it. I'm like, hey, let's chat. Like, let's do a proper like voice call or something. Talk through the project. I can ask you questions. There's a lot of things you can just clear up instantly just by having a voice chat or a face to face or whatever. Like, that's that was a good move, I think, on your part.
And I think, there's minutiae detail that people like. It's harder for someone to lie to your face than over a text, right?
Yeah.
And you can tell, like, just by talking. I mean, even better if you can do face to face, but if you can't, like, having that dialogue and hearing it, like, you can tell when someone, like, when someone lies to you, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that, and I also told him, like, before we had the Zoom chat, I was like, look, like, you still need to pay me for me to, like, keep going, because you still owe me payment from the model that I did.
Yeah.
So, and right now I can't really trust you, so I'm gonna change the deal a bit. I kind of want 70% up front, and then 30% you can pay me in the end.
Yeah.
And he immediately said, done.
Wow. Yeah.
And then
that was also a good call. Like, that's not something I would have thought of, but I actually like because then like it does. You are, like, very well protected at that point, because now you've got, like, most of the payment, so it's easier for you to just honor that agreement at this point.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I really don't like doing that, because that makes me feel like greedy.
Yeah.
And I think some artists would feel that too, like that. I don't think artists are really good at renegotiating in general.
I think you've gotten good from all the contract renegotiations you've done.
But you have to be honest at some point, and you have to be honest to yourself. Like, do you want to keep going on this project, knowing that, let's say if I didn't change that deal, at the back of your mind, you're still going to be questioning it, right? Questioning his commitment.
Like, what if you spend the next few days and then, like, you still no payment for the next stage, and you have to go through the entire thing?
Yeah.
It just seems like a really waste of time, and it's unnecessary, like, stress for something that should have been very simple. Right?
Exactly. So this was the price that I was comfortable with, where I can be like, okay, I can take on this project, and I feel good about taking on this project now that I have most of the money in my pocket, like 3/4 of it, or 2/3, and so those were the two deals. Two, I guess, requirements, and he satisfied both of them. And when I talked to him, I think I heard kids in the background. That makes me feel safe too. I think we talked about this before. Something about people having kids, it just makes you feel like, okay, they can't be total degenerates. Like,
I can trust this person because they have their kids to think about. So maybe there's some switch. This is probably not true for everybody, but I feel like there's probably some switch that happens when you have a kid. You're like, okay, I need to straighten up now. Be like a good person,
or at least not as reckless. But you never know. It could be his niece or something. He's
just playing kids' voices in the background just to throw you off guard.
That's some high level
planning.
So at the end of the day, I checked my bank account or my wallet, and it was there. So everything was confirmed. So now I'm moving forward with it. And the good thing is, like, when I talk to him in Zoom, I start finding out more about, like, what his aspirations are and what he's looking to do in the future. And that's when I feel even more like, okay, I think, he's not just here to scam, or, it feels like he has the direction and the passion to it. To his work. So okay, I'll give it another try. And he apologized for his partner for totally dropping the ball, because he was the one in charge of finances. Even though he apologized for that, I still believe that it's both. It's both. Like, you should know your partner. You should
Like, there should be a level of understanding, like, what's happening between the two of you at least. It's like, oh, did you pay, like, so and so? Like, you paid Jamie? Like, you're supposed to, like, pay him like yesterday. You need to get on that payment now.
Exactly.
I would probably just, like, pay it myself up front first and then work it out with the partner afterwards. But
exactly.
Like, I feel like,
I don't know their financial situation, like, but it's not my issue. Like, not something we need to, or like us as artists need to care about. We just need to care about the money being in our wallet. Right?
Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. If you're trying to get paid, you need to, that's the whole purpose of the commissions.
So that's essentially it. And now we're messaging each other, back in the line of communication. If anything, I didn't message him today yet, and he messaged me. So
that's good. The fact that the dialogue, the channel's been reopened.
Exactly. So hopefully this will, I'll keep everybody updated. We'll see whether this does become something more fruitful, because he is definitely excited with both your work and my work, and he really wants to work with us. So yeah, I mean, who knows what this can turn into, like any other like any contract you take on, right?
Exactly. It's sort of like, I guess, the nature of the NFT space. Like coming back to the NFTs, everybody's a small player at the moment. There's no real like big players. Maybe there's just like a handful of big players, because it's so new, and like companies just can't get in because red tape and all that sort of jazz. And there's such a stigma to the whole industry. I think a lot of it is just like big corporations just like pushing the agenda because they can't quite get in yet, and they don't want to miss the train, so they're trying to hold it back. So a lot of the misinformation that's out there is like it's wild.
Actually, we should talk about that in the next episode, because I've met a lot of people these past few weeks, and then the stuff that their opinions are very interesting. It varies,
and it's kind of like. Have you guys actually looked into it, or have you just read like a headline and just assumed that it was the worst? Because I mean, that's so easy. Like I mean, I do that all the time when I read the news. I just read the headline. I'm like, I make an assumption, and it's probably wrong because everybody has their agendas, especially news corporations. You have to be very kind of. You definitely need to look into it yourself. I think if you really want to know
and read both sides.
We'll say that for the
next one.
The next podcast. So just coming back to the whole NFT space, there's so many small players at the moment, but like these small players are getting big really quick. Like they're growing really quick. You can be a small player one day, and like 2 weeks later you can be like a big player in the space. And I think that's something that is like both exciting, but also like it's crazy because you can't look at anyone and say like, oh, like they're not big enough for me, or like, oh, like you guys don't look like you're gonna make it or whatever. Because anybody can make it in this space. And so that's how I'm approaching like any kind of interaction. It's like this person could be the next, XYZ in the space, So I can't like just turn down jobs willy-nilly. I can't like, I have to like definitely think it through a little bit more, where I'm like looking at the person who's in charge. I'm looking at like other factors like how their project is looking, or like I'm looking at who they know as well, as a way to gauge like who these people are and how big they can potentially be before I make these collaborations. So a lot of what we're doing is we're just trying to connect with people who are like legitimate in the space, not trying to come out and scam people. But people who are really trying to build and trying to innovate. So I think a part of the vetting process is like just all these little things like like what's their project like, who do they know, like who have they collaborated with, who's kind of endorsed them, and like how do they seem as a person themselves. And then then we may or may not like agree to work on something with them, but a lot of what we're doing is not being paid like up front, so.
I guess like you can speak more to that with like I guess how for Long Lost, right, the people that first started, they didn't seem like anything special, and then suddenly they just blew up, right? And I think like that's how you should, like, I guess, and overall how people should treat others. I'm not saying that I do it all the time, but like I guess it's
you should never look down on someone. I think you should always
unless they give you like some super red flags, then like you don't look down on them, but you sort of just maybe distance yourself from that project, right?
And
but
I mean, you have to assume that anybody is like, well, I always like, I give the benefit of the doubt that everybody's like genuinely trying to do well in the space. And then I guess like I also look at how they're executing as well. So like you look at the team and you look at what they're doing, and then you kind of, because you have to compete. Like all these projects are competing, and you have to like essentially split up your time and manage your time the most effectively as possible, right? So it's like taking on one project means you have less time to do another. Doing one job means you have less time to do another. So, in a sense, there is like some strategy involved. Like you have to make sure that you are making the right connections and like working on the projects that could potentially benefit you in the long run the most. Otherwise, you'll just take on everything, and then it's like it could just be all worthless in the end. But
exactly. But I mean, unless like someone proves to you otherwise, I think it's just the best way to do business, to just give people the benefit of the doubt, and then if something does happen, then you can make the decision to maybe not work with them. But I think it's just to keep an open mind, and just because they have less followers than you right now doesn't mean they're not shit.
Exactly. They could be like the next big project, and it's not like you shouldn't ever like. I don't think you should like go in thinking, they might be a big project, so I'm gonna be nice to them. You should just be nice to anyone. Exactly. In general, and then like.
If it works out, if it becomes something, great. If it doesn't, that's cool. At least like you guys had a conversation. So I think that's the best way I think to approach it, especially in the NFT space right now. So
even like all the projects that I have turned down because of time constraints, like I've made sure like, the way I approach like turning them down is like it makes sense in their eyes as well. It's not because I always leave the door open for future collaboration, essentially. So I never like, hey, nah, I'm not doing that project. Get away from like, it's always like, hey, I'm like too busy right now. Like I genuinely can't take on any more work. But like, I always look into them. I see your project. I see what you're doing. I like the ideas. It's just like right now, I just can't take on any more work. But in the future, like, you never know. So I always leave that door open.
Exactly. I mean, someone else asked me to do like a concept for them. Thing is, with concept, it's a bit like it can take a long time, right? But I had to turn them down. But doesn't mean I won't work with them again. But it's just more like, hey, just like right now, I just don't think I have the bandwidth to take on anymore as well. Sometimes you just need to turn down stuff, and there's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it. I think as long as you approach it in like a sincere way. Respectful.
Professional, sincere way. It's all good. But that's pretty much the story of the past week. How drastic things change.
Things change. And we thought it was a lost cause, that connection, but
and it came back.
So
the luck is turning for me. But I think so this week we're heavy on commissions, but also we have our schedule of 8:30 to around 3:30, 2:30, where we're working on our own project, and I guess we can give you a little bit of information. This project, we won't go into the super details because we're still trying to iron it out, but the name of it is going to be called 9 to 6. It's going to be a little bit about the mundane sort of life about everybody from the hours of 9 to 6, where we spend most of our days at work or being unemployed.
Exactly.
So it's going to be something about that. So that's what we can tell you guys. But right now, like just as for the production process, we have a spreadsheet that's basically all these things we have to make in 3D.
All these different assets, 3D assets that we need to basically go through. And I think we're treating it very like systematic because, I think being in production for so long, I think that just gets put in, like you get ingrained to structure things a certain way for efficiency. And I think it helps like having a spreadsheet and seeing like what there is to do and like marking off what's been done and also placing like links to, I guess, to locations where things are saved so you can quickly access them.
So that's what we're going through right now. I think for the most part we built 75%, 60 to 70%.
I feel like it's 50%.
50%? Okay. I forgot.
I want to say 50%, but
we made 50% of our first one, or our first whatever. I can't say. The first one.
The first project, I guess. The first mini project. As part of this larger project.
So we've made the meshes, and and
done the
we've
UVs,
UV'd. Yeah, we've UV'd.
So we're kind of batching the process rather than like making an individual asset and then doing the mesh UVs texture and then like putting in the scene or whatever. We're sort of like batching it so that do all the meshes and the UVs first, and then we'll come back around and do all the textures after.
So after when we UV it, we texture it, and then then we'll go from there.
Bring it into some sort of software, renderer. I think we, maybe we'll try to do an Unreal first and see how that looks, and if that works, then
hopefully that works.
I'm hoping that works just for the render speed. So people know, like, I've been doing everything exclusively rendered in Unreal. So anything you see, like if you guys ever do go onto the Twitter, I think if you go to the previous video, you'll probably see the Twitter handles for us. But if you see any of the work that I've been putting out lately, it's all in Unreal. It's all rendered. It takes like probably like 10 minutes to render like a 2K image or something. That's pretty good. And that's noise free, by the way. 10 minutes in like Arnold or something could be quite noisy still. But like if I render like a 1080 thing, it could be even quicker. So actually, I think it's even quicker than 10 minutes, because when I render when I render the 2K, I render at 200% resolution and downscaled, so it renders like double the size. So it's like 4K image downsized into a 2K. So you get like a little bit.
That's how you get so much detail. No wonder. I'm rendering at 1K.
Oh wow. And so I mean that's a big part of the trying to compress as much detail. That's kind of the same concept as shooting 4K and then compressing down to 1080. It does look a little bit like sharper because there's much more detail. Oh shit! But
so that's what I needed to do.
There's something nice about like rendering lower res. Actually, I was listening to the Flip Normal guys. Another channel on YouTube. And they mentioned something. I think it was Flip Normals. Could be wrong. But I think they actually mentioned something about like getting realistic renders and how they try not to render
at 4K.
Like render super high res, or like they might actually render the intentional resolution, but then just do like a slight 0.5 pixel blur or something actually.
I get what they mean by that, because sometimes when you're rendering something super ultra realistic, it is so sharp, like in front of a plate especially. Like weirdly sharp. And I think
it just doesn't look real. When you composite it together.
So but that's definitely not my problem right now.
I guess we're not doing hyper realistic.
So that's what's happening. That's what we're doing, I guess, right now. We can't wait to show everybody like what we're doing, and we're gonna make tutorials out of it too. So it's like we're not just mentioning this NFT project just because we're on the NFT space now, but it's like there's gonna be tutorials like modeling and texturing and UVing tutorials that accompany our project, so you guys just can still learn stuff.
Process.
I
mean, I'm doing things in Maya, and then I'm kind of I think we have a similar process, except I start off in Maya, and then you start off in Blender now.
So weird how I'm in Blender now I'm thinking about it.
You're a Blender artist now.
I mean, I still love Maya, but it's like sometimes I'm glad I used Blender though, because the rendering is so much better.
I think
it's
just
crazy.
The rendering process is
so much easier.
So much easier than rendering it in DCC. But I guess that's the same. Like, I think maybe the rendering was the most painful part for like
Maya.
Maya, Houdini, or whatever any other traditional application. But that's kind of why I went to Unreal. So I guess maybe in our own special ways, we kind of solve that rendering problem but from different perspectives. I
seriously think sometimes it's good that we get, I guess in some ways we get bored easily, so we try different software. So we pretty much have tried every software out there.
I think I've tried every single one. I still use Houdini, but for other things. Not for rendering and whatnot.
I still use After Effects to replace Photoshop sometimes.
That's the strangest one. I think you're just so good at After Effects that like every other program is just like I can do it quicker enough.
But I force myself to use more Photoshop just because it's like natively that's what it's used for.
Yeah, that's the intention.
But it's just funny how there's
no rules. We've broken all the rules.
But I guess we can talk more, like, actually that could be a topic itself, like generalist and like being, and being knowing many things versus like maybe a master of one.
I think we've touched upon that topic in previous, but never. I don't think we've ever really gone super in depth and talked about like programs and stuff. Because
those skill sets like really differ from when you work in a studio and when you like a big studio and when you freelance.
It's definitely I think it's an advantage, like when you're on your own doing indie stuff. I think just having like knowledge of everything, even if it's a little bit, I think it goes a long way.
Me personally, I still think that being a journalist even in a big studio is better, but people have like disagreed with me, so
I think it depends on like
who.
It depends on who and what trajectory they've what path that they're on.
Exactly. But it's an interesting topic, to be honest. But that's all we got for today. If you liked what we talked about today, please like and share our videos. And subscribe, of course.
Definitely. Like if you have any thoughts on freelancing or just anything we talked about, just drop it in the comments and
But for now, we're out. Peace. Thanks for watching or listening to our content. If you like what you saw, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks again. Peace.